Picture this. You're sitting with your friends, other moms who have gone through a divorce or are contemplating, who maybe didn't picture their lives co-parenting, but are there with you. You're sharing your stories, you're inspiring each other, validating and challenging each other through your shared experiences. You're belly laughing, tearing up, and enjoying your favorite cup of coffee all at the same time. You don't judge each other. You empower each other to continue on your journey, to heal, and to just be you, whatever that looks like. Welcome to Co-Parenting and Coffee.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, hello.
We're on episode 4. I'm so excited.
It's great. I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving.
Yes. We're over Thanksgiving now. We're straight on to Christmas, straight on to those holidays.
Full speed ahead for the December holidays, man.
I
I don't know
know.
about you, but I'm like
I've
up,
done nothing.
up to
Like
my eyeballs. Really?
nothing.
Nothing.
One thing. I've bought one gift. It's not good. I'm in a bad spot.
And well, you have time. We still
Yeah,
have almost a
a little
month.
bit. A little bit
But
of
no, I did no Black Friday shopping, but I did, well, no in-store Black Friday shopping, but I have been letting my mouse do all the walking. And so my UPS man is going to be very busy.
When I saw traffic on Black Friday, I yelled in my car with my window up. Don't you people know about the internet?
But we have some exciting updates, don't
We
we?
do. We really do.
We have gotten a lot of interest from listeners following the last episode with Scott Pinyard from Modern Co-Parent to do a group course with Scott. And so Scott, we talked to him and he is super interested and excited. So if anyone's interested in joining us for this course with Scott on co-parenting, we'd love to have you join us. Please reach out to us. We're on Facebook. We have a group there. We're on Instagram. We have our website, co-parentingandcoffee.com.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. On our podcast is all of our links. And yes,
So
we're
links
so
to
excited.
everything.
Scott is
So reach
in.
out to us.
And
Yeah.
we're going to start this group in January and we'll both be there, which I'm always up for learning and growth and peace. Like, sign me up every day.
Yeah. Peace.
Peace in
I'll put a price
2024,
on that.
right? So, yes, reach out definitely because we'd love to work with anybody who wants and needs peace in this process because it is a tough process wherever you're at.
Mm-hmm.
This week, we're talking about boundaries, which I think is such a perfect thing to start talking about, especially with the holidays coming. I mean, I think anytime, but with the
Yeah, but I feel
holidays,
like boundaries are a time that boundaries often get tested.
oh, yes, they sure do, often.
Um, I loved this activity, I have to say. So if for those of you who don't remember, we shared a link to a YouTube art therapy activity where you visualize yourself holding up your boundaries and what that looks like and how that feels. I actually did this with my kids, and
So did I,
I
yeah.
don't think they really fully understood what it meant, but like holding a boundary. But let me tell you what, they understood the assignment.
No, I was actually, so my daughter is 8, like one of yours,
Yeah,
and I was actually pretty impressed with how well she understood what a boundary was.
that's great.
And I was like, okay. And yeah, and by the end, she was like, can we do more of these type of things?
Yeah, yes,
And it was really nice. It,
I
it was really cool. So I would definitely encourage people to do this specific activity with their kids.
I did it with my kids right before bed, and I think they found it really relaxing too.
Mhm.
So I might have unlocked a new sleepy time activity. So thanks for the idea. I will say I really pictured myself, even though when I pictured a boundary as something like impenetrable or like iron or metal, I
Mhm.
ended up drawing myself in a very like peaceful, idyllic place
Mhm.
where I'm sort of standing in my power, but feeling peace. And I have to say that when I hold up my boundaries with anyone,
Yeah.
whether and it could just be like saying no because I don't wanna.
Right. Yeah. It's important. It's a hard thing to do for
It
sure.
does feel that good. It does feel like that. I don't know if it was the same for you, Jill.
Yeah, I actually drew like because I wasn't really sure how I was going to draw, but I actually drew myself sitting, which I was like, okay, maybe it's like a comfort thing.
Mhm.
Um, and the thing, I sort of just did it like following the video and talking to my daughter, and like I wasn't really paying attention to what I was really doing. But
Mhm.
as I was sort of reflecting on it and looking at it after, I drew like myself like sitting on like what I would think is like a, I mean, I'm a really bad drawer, so um like a pillow, like comfort, right? So like inside my boundary is like comfort and
Mhm.
light, like really light
Mhm.
colors. And then through the bottom, like where I was sitting, it got bigger and darker as it went down. So it was almost like, comfortable on the inside and then pretty strong on the bottom, definitely. And then around it was, I just did colors, but I did dark to light. So it's like, all those boundaries like are darker and more protected. And then as you can kind of break through them, they're lighter. And I thought that was interesting. And I really didn't even know what I was doing per se when I did it.
Well, gosh, I would really love to see other folks. I would
Mhm.
love to see what other people come up with, whether it's sharing, a photo of it or a description of it. So if anyone wants to share with us, we'll post on social, on Facebook and Instagram, and we'd love to see what you come up with.
Make sure you write some insights that you felt from it. Or you
Yeah.
could even post the picture and see if other people have some like, looking at your picture, what they see from it.
Hmm.
Because that
Hmm.
could be actually kind of interesting too.
Thanks for playing with us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's go on to meet Katie. We are so excited today to welcome Katie Davie to Co-Parenting and Coffee. Katie has two elementary age kids and has been co-parenting them for 7 years. She is thrilled that after a lot of years of co-parenting through chaos, she and her ex are now co-parenting peacefully. She owns a coaching and consulting business called Co-Parenting Peacefully, where she helps people learn to co-parent in a way that works for them while maintaining their integrity no matter how their co-parent behaves. You can find her on Instagram, where her DMs are always open, and on Patreon in the next few days. So, Katie, welcome.
Welcome. Yay.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So
I'm
are
excited.
we.
I think the thing I missed in your bio is I think of you as like the boundaries person. It's just such a hot topic, especially in co-parenting. So I'm excited.
Well, and
Thank
I think when you come out of a relationship that was, I mean, more than likely toxic if you've gotten divorced, right? Boundaries is probably a challenge for almost everyone.
you. Mhm.
And, I've seen situations where the boundary is like, maybe your co-parent is super high conflict, so you just give in all the time. But I've also seen situations where people are like super enmeshed and they're like always together, and that's causing conflict. So I'm looking forward to kind of hearing about both of those. But the first thing we want to know, Katie, is do you drink coffee and what's your favorite kind?
Do I drink coffee? Of course I do. So usually I just use my little machine at home and make just a coffee with creamer. But if I'm going out, I
Mhm.
love a Starbucks white chocolate mocha. That is my jam.
And it's hot.
I'm a hot coffee drinker. What about you?
I am an iced coffee drinker, but no one else so far has been. I feel like I need to get a guest that's an iced coffee
Yeah, we
drinker.
need we need well, no, we did have a couple in New England. Well, Katie, to make you feel better, I drink coffee hot unless it's like 1,000 degrees out.
Well, and I'm not opposed to drinking my coffee like hours later when I forget
Mm.
about it and then it's cold. It's just I like
Yeah.
to start with it hot.
So shifting gears to co-parenting peacefully, tell us a little bit about what inspired you to start this business and um you've been doing this for a little while now. How, what's it been like for you?
Yeah. So I think when I got divorced, things were really tense and really, I was so emotional and I didn't have, like, I couldn't find my way out of all of the chaos and the crazy. My co parent and I did not get along well. We still have our moments where we don't get along well. But back, 3 or 4 years ago, I was really looking for a space that would help me kind of co parent while maintaining my boundaries, and like without the idea that I would have to sit with this person at sporting events, and kind of that would allow me to more parallel parent than actually co-parent, but there weren't very many good resources for that. So
Mhm.
that's kind of where co-parenting peacefully was born. Like,
Mhm.
how do I help myself and help other people co-parent in a way that feels authentic to them, but doesn't always fit into that nice little package we see with like co-parenting goals on Instagram?
So you just brought up a couple of really good terms, and the first one I want to ask you about is parallel parenting. Tell
Mhm.
us what that is.
So I like to think of that. I think the easiest way to explain it is like, you do what you do in your home, your co-parent does what they do in their home, and you don't really cross each other's kind of homes.
Mhm.
So like, my co-parent and I can go months without talking to each other because we literally do what works for us in our each of our respective homes,
Yeah.
and we don't it doesn't really cross very often.
Mhm.
So I just, but that takes some practice and some training, especially in the beginning when you're so accustomed to being a couple. It can be really hard, but I think parallel parenting is really the way to go for people who are in a super high conflict, toxic relationship, at least in the beginning. I think you can sometimes work more towards collaborative co parenting, but in the beginning,
Yeah, I always say in like my support group and stuff like that, that at the beginning your boundaries have to be like super strong, and you can change, like they can change over time, but like everybody's sort of like establishing themselves, their homes, their kids, their routines, all that stuff. So it's so important, and everybody's, it's highly emotional, and so it's a good place to start.
I totally agree. And I think like we forget that boundaries can be flexible and fluid, but it has to
Mm.
be the right time.
Right.
So I'm totally in agreement. Boundary up in the beginning, and
Yeah.
then you can move from there.
What does it mean to have good boundaries? Like, what does that look like for someone, and how can it be helpful?
Okay. So this is like my favorite thing to talk about, but I think that having strong boundaries allows you to unenmesh, untangle,
Mhm.
really focus on you and not worry so much about your co-parent, which I think is a huge problem, especially when we're first co-parenting. Like, we're so enmeshed and worried about what the other person is doing
Mhm.
that we have these, what we think are boundaries, but they become like these just little strings that intertwine all over the place. And let me give you an example. Like, if I were to say to my co-parent, I would really appreciate it if you don't call me after 9 p.m. That's an expectation. That's not a boundary. A
Okay.
boundary for you is, I'm not answering the phone after 9 p.m. Like, you don't always have to voice those boundaries, but the boundaries have to be things that you can control. So
Hmm.
it becomes an expectation when you're asking your co-parent to do something differently.
Right. One of the things that I saw, I think it was on your TikTok, was sometimes when you put those boundaries up, your co-parent reacts like strong and negatively. And
Mm.
you're like, wait a minute, I'm like putting a boundary up. I thought this was going to be better. So, what do you do when their reaction to this boundary is like, maybe disproportionate or like extreme compared to you having to protect yourself or putting up a boundary?
Yeah, that's a really common question. And I think some of this depends on your co parenting relationship. If you have a good co parenting relationship, I think it's okay to talk to your co parent about, like, hey, what's happening here? I don't understand where this is coming from. But for a lot of us, things are really toxic at first. And so I say, if it's a boundary that you feel good about and that you need and that isn't hurting your kids,
Right.
hold it and just wait. It's going to get worse. It's what I like to call kind of the extinction burst. Like,
Mm.
you hold strong and you set that boundary, and you're kind of like just being consistent,
Yeah.
and your co-parent is climbing this hill as they poke more and more and more because they want a reaction or they
Right.
expect something from you. And then once you've held that boundary long enough, they're like, well, okay, i guess
Right.
I guess this is how it's going to work. And that took my co-parent a long time, like years for some of them.
Hmm.
But now he kind of understands, and every now and then he'll start to slip back into old habits, and I just have to kind of stop it right there. And that's, it works pretty well now, but I
Yeah.
did have to hold it, and he got real upset. And I
Hmm.
see that a lot with clients. They get very upset, but just hold it.
Yeah.
So, Katie, what do healthy boundaries look like in a co-parenting relationship?
That so depends on your co-parenting relationship. I mean, I guess I always think that boundaries should be in place surrounding personal space, surrounding emotions,
Mm,
surrounding new relationships. Like those are some that I think are huge that people forget about because we want to be conversational with our co-parents. Some of us.
mhm,
Some of us have co-parents who want to be conversational with us, but I feel like those are some things that you really should boundary and be careful talking about because like if you're talking about your new partner to your ex and they're not over it or you're not over it or there's some sort of like thing happening, then what happens? You guys kind of fall into old habits.
Do you think that you could put up too many boundaries? Like, especially like at the beginning, if you're like, just feel like you need a wall up, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm like really boundaried myself out almost. Like,
Mhm.
is it possible?
I think so. I think probably, but I think that's hugely dependent on who we are as people. So
Mhm,
for me, I am pretty well boundaried anyway in general. And so for me, it doesn't feel odd to me to not talk to my co-parent about anything but the kids. Like we will go to a sporting event and it
mhm,
has been a boundary for a long time that I do not discuss anything but the kids. So
yeah,
we can sit there for an hour not talking to each other and I'm
mhm,
fine with that. But there
yeah,
might be some of you out there who are like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. I can't sit there in silence. So, I mean, but I think a
mhm,
lot of us tend to boundary up really hard at the beginning
yeah,
and then we're like, okay, I can back off a little bit of this, or I can start to talk more about that, or whatever. I think as long as you're not keeping things about the kids from your co parent, it's
mhm.
probably okay to kind of dabble and see what feels good.
What do you do with a co-parent who won't honor your boundaries? They won't. It's just like they're not getting it.
Just keep doing it. I
Yeah,
mean, that's one of the reasons why the boundary has to be something that you can enforce yourself because they're gonna keep pushing. They're so used to it. Like, especially my clients. I mean, I love them all so much, but lots of them are really unboundaried and it is
mhm,
really, really hard for them to say no. So their co-parent is so used to them saying yes that they're just gonna push, 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 push. And
mhm,
because they know eventually we're gonna say yes, right? But I think you just have to keep holding it. I mean, they're gonna push,
yeah,
which is why, like, and for me, my co-parent's not allowed inside of my home. He's never been inside of my home. I
mhm,
don't want him inside of my home.
right,
And he did push that in the beginning, but I was like, hey, we can do the exchange on the porch. We can do it out in the driveway. You're not coming in.
mhm,
So now he knows he never tries to come in anymore,
yeah.
but it took a while.
Yeah. I think with anything like this, it takes time, like, and a lot of work on yourself to be able to
Yeah.
create those boundaries and have the confidence to, I mean, it's can be, especially like I've seen like from other people I've worked with, they do get put their boundary, even their space, like their house, like maybe he comes on the porch and then all of a sudden he's coming in the house and it's like awkward and you don't want the kids to feel awkward and how to manage that. What about somebody that like me maybe that has a hard time setting boundaries?
What do you think is the hardest part for you about setting boundaries?
um I think maybe not as much now, but definitely in the past. It felt like if I put a boundary, especially about co-parenting, that it was negative for my daughter. Like for an example, we would do birthday stuff we would do something for her birthday together. And we're not particularly high conflict, so it's fine, but not great. Like I don't love doing it. And after a couple years, I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, I don't like doing it. I don't feel like she's good. I mean, he comes to her birthday party and we're fine. But I had a hard time getting rid of like that tradition that we did for a couple years because I felt like it was good for her, but not good for me.
Yeah. So common. I feel like that too. And I still every now and then have that sort of like little nagging feeling like, what if my kids what if this isn't actually great for them? But the way that I've always explained it to my kids is just, now that we live in two separate homes, it's really cool that you get to do two separate birthdays or two separate whatever. And
Mhm.
you get to enjoy your time with that parent. And then you can come home and enjoy that time with me. But it was easier, I will admit, because they were little. They were 1 and 3.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
they kind of were like, oh, okay. And they took that kind of at face value. But I
Right.
do think our mental health is important. And if we can't
mhm,
stomach doing those things, it's
Mhm.
okay to say to our kids, hey, you know what? I'm going to sit this one out and I'm going to just let you enjoy your time with dad or mom, and I'll see you when you get home. Have so much fun at your party or whatever.
Right.
And there is I think some of that sadness for our kids. And
Mhm.
my kids every now and then are like, why don't you just move back in with dad? And I'm, oof, you
You're
guys have lost your minds. There is no way. But like, no, thank you. But
like,
I think that's something that we have to get used to too, is that our kids are still going to every now and then want us to be together
right.
because
yeah,
it would be easier.
it would.
Mhm.
My kids definitely will say to me like, "Oh, I hate missing one of you all the time."
Mm.
Oh,
Right? Right? And I can totally empathize with that for them, that that's hard, and that's, the reality of the situation. And us, and it, it's challenging to, um other than acknowledging it and just saying, I'm sorry that that's the way there's not much else to be done about it,
Right.
because I'm not getting back together with their dad. Like, so yeah, I hear what you're saying. I've been thinking about through this conversation, I've known a couple of women who are in the middle of a divorce or who have gone through divorce, and they have an ex that just won't stop trying to make them miserable, right? Pushing buttons,
Mhm.
sending very baiting emails or texts. And, it's great because, Jill knows this excuse me. Jill knows this group
Mhm.
well. They'll come to us and we'll work together on how to help them respond and stuff. But what are some of your thoughts on the boundaries with that stuff?
I think so. I'm a huge fan of gray rock, as I'm sure all of you are,
Mhm.
because the thing is that we cannot set a boundary that will ever work to make them stop sending those things.
Right.
We just can't do it. I had a client not long ago. She's been co-parenting for 11 years, and
Mhm.
she would get pages and pages and pages of emails every day. And
Yeah.
I'm like, so you can't stop him from doing that, but what can we do on your end to make you feel better about it? And it was like, stop receiving notifications, check my email or my text messages once a day, print everything out. Because I mean, I'm not kidding you. She had pages and pages. She would print it out. She would have her husband or her friend kind of black out all the things that were awful and horrific. Then she would go through and she would read, okay, here's what I actually have to respond to. And we got her down to like, here are the 3 major points. Here are 3 sentences for each of those, and fire that back off. But it's like, you have to focus on preserving your own mental health because they are not going to stop.
No.
Yeah, yeah, and I think a lot of it, is designed to intimidate and bully and frighten, right? To say, making accusations that, we've already been through court and spent, tens of, or maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? That sort of specter of going back to court and somehow this is going to be used against me.
That's the worry that we hear a lot, is that if people don't respond, especially like with the technology stuff like emails and that texts and whatnot, if they don't respond, that it will look poorly on them, like if they do go to court, like that they're not co-parenting.
Yeah,
Um, so I think that's a different kind of challenge
for
when you're in
sure.
a high conflict
Well, and
situation.
I think like everyone is a big fan of saying, just don't respond. And I am a
Yeah.
huge fan of, if that does not feel right to you, then
Mhm.
respond, but respond in a way that is short, to the point,
Right.
and will be read kind of from a like neutral standpoint from the court. So if you're getting 11 pages of nonsense, then maybe
Right.
you respond with like, thanks for letting me know all that information. I've read through everything. Have a great day, or whatever. Like, I don't
Right.
know. Some people, like I said, some people don't feel good with saying, have a great day and thanks for the info either. You have to kind of tailor it so you're not like ending up hating yourself later. But I don't think for everyone not responding is the answer. I think sometimes if it feels good to do that, then respond.
I actually had a conversation this morning with someone because she's pretty early on in her divorce and she's really angry. And I think it's okay. You feel how you feel, and like accepting where you're at is okay.
I think the anger is a natural feeling through the process of a divorce or a
Yeah.
breakup, especially in the early days, and especially, I mean, whether or not there's was a betrayal or cheating or, that wasn't part of my story, but there was still, I was still angry.
I feel like the anger it's a tool. It's a guide for us. Like, what is our anger protecting us from? And
Mhm.
that can help us figure
Ooh,
out, here's where I need to do the work. So I
Yeah.
I
always
love
feel
that.
like
Yeah.
it's like emotions they just are that we aren't our emotions. They're just tools and guides for us.
Yeah, and I think for me, I would say I was anger of like this you didn't turn out to be who I thought you would be, right? I was angry about that. And so, um, you know,
Me too. Yeah, me
yeah,
too. And I was like, this is not the life I wanted for my kids. This
yeah,
wasn't the life I wanted for me. And I was also angry at myself for picking this person. And I think there's
yes,
like a lot of we distrust ourselves a lot after we've picked someone and they haven't turned out to be who we thought that they would be. There's like this, oh my gosh, can I trust anything that I'm doing right now?
right.
And then you get into this high conflict situation and your co-parent is poking at you, making you distrust yourself even more. And so you're like, I don't even know if I'm doing this right. I have no idea. It's like, it's awful.
Yeah, well, you bring up an interesting point, right? Because when you make your co-parenting plan, you are in that frame of mind, right? It's such an unsettled time, and you're needing to make these big decisions. So it's great that there's you and people like you to help guide people. Tell us a little bit about, how you help people navigate this. What does it look like when someone meets with you? What's your process like, if you can speak to that?
That's such a good question. So I think my sessions look kind of the same for everyone, but we typically sit down and we talk about here's where I'm stuck. Here's what's hard. Here's what I need help with. And some people come to me and they need help like ironing out responses for emails and ironing out kind of more logistical things.
Mhm.
And that's fine. I love to do that with people. We come up with scripts, we come up with just various ways to handle the nonsense that gets thrown at them. But then there are some people that we're like, is this really about your ex? Is it about you? Is there something that you can change on your end? Is there something that, like, are you doing what you're doing because of the kids, or are you doing it because you're upset with your co parent? There are some of those conversations that we have. And I think bottom line, most people leave feeling like we've reached some sort of solution for the issue that they're having. And they always leave with kind of like a toolbox from me with how to do that. And I think that's what I would have wanted when I was first co parenting, because I was like, I am up a creek without a paddle. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. And
Mhm.
so I always feel like if I can leave people with some tools, that's the best thing I can do for them.
Do you find people come to you during the active divorce or after their divorce is over? What kinds of situations do you tend to see?
Usually I see people who come to me and they've been co parenting for a couple of years and it's chaos.
Mhm.
And there's like just so much. And I typically get people who are kind of on the receiving end of the nonsense. And we have to figure out, well, you're communicating too much, you're not well boundaried, you are giving too much emotionally, you're being too flexible.
Mhm.
Kind of all the things that go along with like the typical fawn response or the typical people pleasing type of personality, which I am as well. It's
Mhm.
taken a long time to get out of that. But those are my kind of clientele. And we just really work on those things.
If you could say, like, okay, this is a boundary that I would put on most people that are going through a divorce, the first thing, what would it be?
Don't talk on the phone or in person if you can avoid it.
Oh.
Interesting. See more?
Mhm. That well, so that is where I find that people get into the most trouble. They get emotional. They get on the phone. You hear this person's voice. They say your name. They're like all of these little mini triggers in that conversation. And then before you know it, you're on the phone for 2 hours and nothing's getting resolved and you feel like crap. And maybe your co-parent's yelling at you. And I've been there too.
Yep.
So I think it was my attorney originally who was like, I do not understand why you are on the phone with him. Get off the phone.
Right.
So that's my first go-to. And I know you can't always avoid it. There might be exchanges in person, which I'm a huge fan of, like, do the daycare exchange, do the school exchange. I enjoy those types of exchanges because, like I said, my co-parent and I, our kids are 10 and almost 8. We can go a month without talking to each other and it's beautiful.
Right.
Not a problem. So yeah, avoid the in-person conversations and on the phone conversations if you can. But it's hard to set that boundary because they might call you 27 times and you're like, oh my gosh, is there something wrong with the kids? Is there
Right.
how do I figure out whether I need to answer or not? And that's, again, one of those things, like, maybe if you have the kids, you don't answer because guess what? The kids are fine. You can listen to the 27 voicemails later and then make your response in an email or a text.
Like, we're talking about high conflict a lot, but what about in an amicable situation where you still like really need some boundaries and you're maybe not great at putting those in, more because you feel like afraid almost that it would trigger a conflict and that it's maybe not so bad but also not great?
I think if you're in sort of an amicable co-parenting relationship, like my partner and his ex-wife have a great co-parenting relationship. They have their moments, but they both have set some boundaries with one another and they've worked really well. But they also have both said, like, here's how we want to parent our children together. Here's what we're expecting from each other. And like, here's my hard line when it comes to my partner. Here's my hard line when it comes to my partner. So they were very, they talked a lot about like what was acceptable and what wasn't for them. And I think that was probably really, really helpful. And I think if you can't do that and you are still amicable, then maybe the answer is just like, hey, I really need some space. I would appreciate it if we didn't talk about my family. Because theoretically, if you're amicable, maybe that person is like, oh, I don't like that, but I can respect that.
Right.
I think I would try to have that conversation.
You actually brought up a good question too about blending families or adding new people into families and how that can create a whole new dynamic and the boundaries around that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm remarried, so it's definitely like different. What kind of boundaries do you put for your kids or your family and your partner? And he has kids too? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it looks very different. Like, my partner and I have talked really in depth about how we want to parent one another's kids, what's acceptable, what's not, what type of relationship I'm comfortable having with his ex, what kind of relationship she wants to have with me. And I always laugh because, like, I always say the person who wants the least amount of communication and contact is the one with all the power, which is true. So like, I'm pretty happy to be flexible and go either way.
Right.
She and I are not like in group chats. We don't really talk to each other very much unless we're in the same space. She's great. I like her. We get along well.
Right.
But I don't really parent my partner's child at all. They do that themselves. I don't even like drive her anywhere or do anything like that. So my co-parents partner, they just recently split, but she was super involved in my kids' lives. I was on the group chat with her. She and I hung out. Like, that was a conversation though that my co-parent had with her, and they decided how involved was I going to be, like, on their parenting time and there, and how involved was she going to be with me, you know? So I think, like, gosh, blending families is so hard, but there's so much talking that you have to do to each other to really make it work.
I am single and I haven't gotten into a relationship since my divorce. My divorce was only finalized less than a year ago. So all, like, just the thought, it's like permutations of people who have to be involved and communicating when you're blending family is like, it does not compute even in my brain. Wow.
It's really hard. It's stressful. And I remember thinking, so I didn't really date very much until probably 4 years after I got divorced, and I've been with my partner now for almost 2 years. And I remember when he sat me down and he was like, so we got to talk about like, what level are you comfortable being involved with my ex? And I was like, no, thank you. I would rather not. Can we just like, let's not do
Right.
that. But it really helped. But there is so much like, how do you feel about that? And what makes you uncomfortable about this? And I think too, if your partner is really good at hearing you and you were to say like, hey, I'm not comfortable hanging out with your ex and I'm not comfortable
Mhm.
going to birthday parties, like that's very different than if you have a partner who says, well, we have to go, she's going to be so mad if we don't go,
Right.
I think there has to be like an
Respect.
understanding there as well.
Well, and that just made me think about the holidays, Katie. I mean, that your kids with your co-parent, and then of course there's like all the other kids of partners, and so how do people navigate this?
Mm-hmm.
Truthfully, I would say in the beginning it is very bumpy. So
Mm,
I would not expect, as someone who's just starting to co-parent, within the first couple of years, it's usually very, I want my time. You
mhm,
can't have extra. I don't want to be flexible. And I see that with people who are amicable and people who aren't. Like, you don't want to miss your holidays.
Yeah.
So I think this is easier said than done, but I
mhm,
always take the stance that if I can be flexible and there's something that my kids will enjoy, then
Right.
I will be flexible. But I think like that time sharing is a huge problem for lots of people, especially if they don't have a solid parenting plan where
mhm,
everything is written down and like ours is time specific, exchange place specific, day specific. Like there is no way you can misread it
Mm-hmm.
because we were struggling so hard when we got divorced. And then there's like new traditions. What happens when someone does the tradition that you really enjoy, but
mhm,
like your co-parent beat you to it? And there's all this stuff. What happens if they buy the gift that you had planned on giving?
mhm.
Yeah.
What happens if they tell them that Santa's not real? There's all these things that I see, and I'm like, sometimes it's hard, but you just have to bob and weave. Like this is the reality,
Mm-hmm.
and how can you work with what you've got?
Right. And it does get better. I mean,
Yes.
I'm similar to you. I think I'm 7 years out, 7 or 8 years out now. And it does get better. It really
Yeah.
does. Like you do settle into a new normal, whatever that looks like. And,
Mhm.
you know, you do at least I hope that you make it the best you can for yourself and for your kids. Like,
Yeah. And I think you hit on a really important point, is that you should also make sure that you feel good about what's going on. Like
right.
there's this idea that we want to sacrifice ourselves and our
Mhm.
feelings and our time and all of these things so that our kids can be in the best position that they're going to be in. And I
Mhm.
think we can take care of ourselves while also still caring for our kids and making
Mhm.
sure that they're in a good place. Like I have for a while, I was really giving my co-parent anything that he wanted for the holidays, time wise, but then I was getting ticked off because I wasn't getting any of the time that I wanted. So
Yeah.
it became like, how can I compromise and still make sure that my kids are in doing the things with him that they want to do, like pumpkin patches, for example? Like,
Yes.
okay, if he really wants to take them, I'm
Mhm.
willing to do that, but I'm not willing to give up my entire Thanksgiving break or Halloween break for him. I'm willing to do this. And
Right.
so I think like maybe part of being flexible for the holidays is really figuring out what you as an adult can handle
Mhm.
and then kind of working that into how it works for your kids. I don't know.
Well,
What do
that's
you
what's
think?
really important too. I mean, I don't know if I said this before in another episode, I don't remember, but how our parenting schedule works out is that he has her Christmas Eve and I have her Christmas Day. And when it first happened, Christmas Eve, I was like laying in bed crying and like so upset. But now I'm like, this is the best thing ever because now I have Christmas Eve to like finish everything up I need to finish. I can finish wrapping. I have the whole day Christmas Eve to like get my stuff together. Oh, we can swear. Um, so that then I can sit and enjoy Christmas with her. Like, so sometimes things work out the way they're supposed to, right? So,
So for me, I would have a hard time opening the conversation up because of being afraid of the conflict, right? So I have to have like a negotiation with myself of like, if I wait, for them to open up the conversation. They will probably wait until it's too late for me to make a plan. So I kind of have to like build myself up to just say like, if I have the conversation when I'm ready to have it, or when I'm thinking about it, the likelihood of me getting what I want is going to be a lot higher, even if it's going to be a challenge navigating the conversation. I will say 85% of the time, it's fine.
Right.
So I'm conditioning myself. I'm learning.
Yeah, that's what this whole thing is learning. Like, I have all of these people in my DMs sometimes who will say, well, I need, like, how do I make this happen? And I say, you have to experiment, because what works for me is probably not going to work for you. Like, some of the tools and tips that we have for people who are high conflict are the same, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for you. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to feel good to you. So it's kind of this process of experimentation and practice and putting all the pieces together. Like, I mean, I never imagined that I would not allow my co-parent to step foot in my home ever, but that's what needed to happen. So there are all these things. I feel like I am way more boundaried than I imagined I would be at the beginning of this process, but it works. So I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah,
But there
tell
are
us
some
about
people who are like, you're crazy. I can't believe you would do that. That's way too much. That's too hard. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's too much for you, but it's not too much for us.
Yeah, tell us about what the effect is for you. How does it impact you, your well-being? How does it impact your family?
My boundaries. Oh,
Yeah.
it's great for me. It's really great for me. He and I cannot communicate still to save our lives. It's been almost just about 7 years, and we are still finding ourselves on phone conversations like, that is not what I said. And I'm like, but that is, so for us, those boundaries are huge. They are so helpful. Our kids totally get it. They are, I mean, my son he was 1 when we split. And so he doesn't remember a lot of what happened that led to the split, but sometimes he'll say, why can't you guys stay married? And I'm always like, well, because your dad and I want different kinds of relationships. And that's why we have a really different life now. That's why daddy does things on his time and I do things on my time. And we don't do a lot of things together.
Right.
And my kids get it, but they also are getting older and they can kind of see how things work in each home. And so I think they understand that they're very different, and they're, even though every now and then they're like, why can't you live together? They know that we are 2 totally different types of people. So, I mean, it works.
I think my daughter was 7 months old when we got divorced, so she doesn't know us together either. And like, she's like, she can't even believe that we were together. And we were together for a long time, like from high school on. But she's like, what? You were married to each other? That's so weird.
Yeah. I came across a picture of myself with my ex-husband when I was pregnant with my youngest on Facebook. And I was showing my daughter because I said, hey, you were like cooking. You were in my tummy there. And she said, ew, you and daddy had your arms around each other? And I was like, well, we did used to be married, but it's such a foreign concept for them that I think that probably for the kids who didn't grow up in a home where their parents were married, it's easier.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's a delight chatting with you. And thanks, Katie, for grabbing a cup of coffee with us.
Of course. Yeah. This has been so fun. Thank you guys for having me.
Now I need to go set up some boundaries. Bad.
Yeah, go get yourself some boundaries, Jill.
Do it. Do it. Just start throwing them out there and see what happens.
Hold on. So we'll put your info in the show notes, Katie, but where can people find you?
So usually I'm always around on Instagram, just at Co-Parenting Peacefully, and then coparentingpeacefully.com is a good place. Patreon in here shortly. So a couple different ways, but I really enjoy kind of helping people in my DMs too. So
amazing. All right. Thanks, Katie.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you for listening to our interview with Katie. We had such a good time with her and learned a lot about boundaries. We just wanted to share what our grow work for next week is. And we thought the perfect thing to do for this week is an intentional you time. Now, we really want you to take some time, and we didn't put a specific time limit on it. Some people can do it for 10 minutes. Some people can do it for a whole weekend. It really depends on your life and your ability and what's comfortable for you. But we want you to really think about things that are important to you and that bring you peace or that bring you calm during this incredibly hectic time. We want you to plan it. We want you to write it down if you can on your phone and then in your journal, however you want to write it down. And then we want you to do it. And we would love you to share it with us on your Facebook. Now, there's no time limit. There's no judgment on what it is you do. If it's that you love to go to the grocery store by yourself when it's late, because some people like to do that, like me, and look at food and find new recipes, then that's great. Then do that.
Yeah.
We would love to hear. Do you have any ideas of what you're going to do yet, Allie?
So I'm thinking I might try something that's like, I don't say new, but something that's not something I normally do, right? I'm going to make time to do some journaling. That's always helped me clear my mind. And over it's been on my mind to kind of renew.
Yeah.
But that has a meditative quality for me. I used to journal every morning, and I could really feel like a palpable difference in my whole attitude and my mothering. And so I think I'm gonna pull that back out of dust it off the shelf, so to speak.
Well, and I love the idea that it has to be very intentional. Like, we really want you to take time and think about, what do you like to do? What brings you peace specifically?
Yeah.
And maybe think of a couple different options and then see what works for your time and your financial, because we know it's Christmas. So what actually will work for you. So
Yeah. And I think that, as we think about this time of year, don't lose yourself in the next several weeks trying to make the magic happen at your own expense.
Right.
Find a few minutes, even if it's 10 minutes, to do a guided meditation or a body scan, or maybe you were able to do something a little bit more extravagant or fun. Take care of yourself, treat yourself.
Yes.
And we'd love to hear what you decide to do.
Yes.
Share with us, please.
Don't forget to share with us on our Facebook page. All right.
All right. Have a great week, everyone.
Episode. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Thanks for joining us for Co-Parenting and Coffee. This podcast is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal advice on any subject matter. If you liked our podcast, feel free to drop us a review. We'd appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you next time for a cup of coffee and a chat with another expert on co-parenting.